Hello, thank you for being in a new video. This time I have with me the new Galaxy Tab S10 Plus and Galaxy Tab S10 Ultra. Let's get started. It is curious that this year Samsung made the decision to withdraw one of the members of the family Galaxy Tab S. We speak of the base model, which is no longer present. Interestingly, the Plus model remains, but with the same name, even though it is now the new base model. But I guess to avoid confusion, Samsung kept this name because this would be the intermediate size tablet before getting to the massive size tablet. I must confess that in this case, I'm testing them many days before launch, so that's why you may get to see some packaging and stickers around here that I can't take back. But anyway, it serves us to give you a first initial look, and later we will have unboxing and review and everything you always like so much. I must anticipate you that this generation is not going to be revolutionary in terms of new specifications. It's a natural evolution simply, but very much focused on artificial intelligence like most of the products Samsung is releasing lately. So join me in getting to know them a little closer. Let's start with this one, which is the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. In this case, I have it in platinum silver color, which as you realize is aluminum and reflects lighting quite well, although it has a matte finish. It is also available in moonstone gray, which will be the dark version. In this part would come attached the S Pen, of which we have some news that I will tell you in a moment. It comes with dual camera, with these new color rings, very similar to the evolution we saw at the time with the Galaxy Z Flip. This green sticker is temporary, don't think it's part of the design. Well, in this case, we're talking about a tablet with a 12.4-inch diagonal screen, so that's why I say it's like an intermediate size. The resolution of this screen is 2800 by 1752 pixels, and of course it comes with AMOLED technology. To be exact, it is Dynamic AMOLED 2X, which is the technology that Samsung uses in all of its high-end products, and obviously it goes up to 120 Hz in its refresh rate, although manually you could set it to 60. This tablet incorporates a slightly anti-reflective finish, although it is not a matte screen as if we have already seen in some proposals from other brands, so in that sense it does not give such an advanced experience. Although it manages to avoid reflections in terms of their intensity, it doesn't avoid them completely, but at least they don't shine as much. This tablet is 5.6 millimeters thick and has a weight of 571 grams in the Wi-Fi edition, although there may also be a 5G edition that would have a higher weight, although for now I cannot confirm which version comes to Mexico, but most likely it is only Wi-Fi. On the sides we will find 4 speakers that really sound very loud. A while ago I accidentally played something and I got a good scare because of the power of the speakers. In that sense they don't disappoint either. I don't usually pay much attention to the cameras, but we found 13 megapixels in the main one, 8 megapixels in the ultra-wide. Personally, I always mention that in tablets I consider unnecessary to incorporate 2 cameras. Better put us 2 USB ports, please. And for the front camera, we will find 12 megapixels. And it has a very wide angle, so this camera is well focused on video calls. Notice that it has an exaggeratedly wide angle, which is great for being able to be close to the screen when you're on a video call, but also obviously it will have automatic framing when you're making video calls, so if it's just you, you'll probably automatically stay focused, and if other people suddenly arrive, it will probably widen the angle. The battery is 10,090 milliampere hours and supports 45-watt charging. Fortunately, it does support the most powerful charge that Samsung has to date, which is not something spectacular, but it would be a disappointment if it only supported 25 watts, and at least in that sense we are not disappointed. Something important at the design level is that it has the IP level of resistance against water and dust. That is something that I personally like a lot, because this way you can use the tablet with much more confidence near locations with water, or even having your glass of water nearby without any fear. And before I tell you about the performance issue, let me tell you that, as I anticipated a moment ago, the main focus of this update is to integrate Galaxy AI features. Note that it will integrate the entire suite that Samsung currently has available. For example, the chat assistant that is integrated into the keyboard to compose messages or change the style of certain messages, or also check your grammar, your spelling, and translate. There is also the interpreter capable of doing translations in real time without the need for internet connection. There is also the Notes Assistant, which can be very useful for students to help them organize everything they write. And in fact, in this generation, we will also find an assistant for mathematical formulas that will not only translate them from handwritten to digital, but can also help you solve them. Although in this version of the software, that feature is not yet integrated, but I have been told that it will exist at launch. It's something I personally really like because I used the Galaxy Note 10.1 in college with the S Note app, and it had formula recognition. Then for some strange reason Samsung removed it, and they have finally brought that feature back. But Galaxy AI is also going to work on the voice recorder to transcribe all those audios and even summarize them, but not only from the voice recorder app but also from the Samsung Note app itself. If you insert a voice recording, you will be able to do exactly the same thing, summarize that recording, transcribe it, or even translate it and copy that text to another location. Notice that the button appears here, so let's say that the Samsung Note suite is quite advanced for note-taking. In fact, they also integrate better automatic typing. Notice that if I'm typing, it automatically shows me a little guideline which then disappears, and then you'll also notice that it's able to adjust the angle of the typing so that if I've typed wrong, it automatically makes a subtle correction. It's not going to transform your ugly handwriting into a work of art either, but it's useful. In the Samsung web browser, we also find the navigation assistant to summarize web pages or translate them, and we are also going to find the photo assistant to edit photos and remove objects, make them bigger, or even apply studio effects, which, as I tell you, is the same suite we see on Samsung mobile devices, but now it has also moved to the tablet. And in fact, we are also going to find the drawing assistant, which in conjunction with the S Pen can help you create a much nicer image based on the doodle you make. Let's give it a try. Although in this case, curiously, it is not adapted for a horizontal view, which seems to me to be improvable, although remember that this software is not yet 100% finished. But let's try to draw a camera and see how it goes. Let's put this square over here, a circle, another square over here this way, and let's put a button. I think it does look like a camera, but let's see if the artificial intelligence understands me. Remember that you can put different styles. To put, for example, animation, pulse generate, and now you just have to wait a little bit for the artificial intelligence to work its magic, because it's going to give you different proposals to see which one you like the most. I want to leave the video in real time without cuts, so you can see more or less how long it takes, and there we have the results. Obviously, you could also apply different colors if you want me to use a specific color palette, but see how we could have good enough results, especially if you have more drawing skills. In this case, I did a very simple doodle, and it still transformed it into something much more attractive. So you might find this drawing assistant useful. In fact, I remind you that also your photos, for example, you could edit them with artificial intelligence applying this sketch to image option. For example, I am going to draw here as if it were a flower pot. Let's see if this artificial intelligence understands what I want to do. I am going to put here the trunk, and later I am going to put the branches as if it were a palm tree. That's more or less it. Let's press the generate button. Obviously, the more detailed you make your drawing, I think the better the artificial intelligence can understand it, but we're going to wait just to see how these features work on this tablet, which are its main new features. Although I guess the update will also come at some point to the last generation, but they have not specified that clearly. Note that there he put a plant, in fact replaced part of the background to be able to better square this plant and look more natural. The truth is that it does look interesting. I think this result is the closest to what I had in mind. Honestly, they are pretty good tools. And finally, with respect to the performance that we will achieve in this tablet, comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM in its two versions of storage. The first one with 256 gigabytes and the second one with 512. So in that sense it is fine, but the surprise of this generation is that they have abandoned the Snapdragon processor, which is quite curious, as Samsung bets for the first time in a flagship device by a MediaTek processor. To be exact, it is the MediaTek Dimensity 9300, a processor that actually comes to compete with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but is supposed to surpass it since it came a little later to the market. However, it is likely to be outperformed by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4, but definitely what is clear is that it is a fairly efficient processor and also supports ray tracing, which is interesting for gaming. In this case, I am running a game that apparently, if they have this type of graphics, although honestly it does not look so advanced. However, this processor already has the capabilities for developers to continue adapting their games in the future to improve the graphics and make them look much more advanced. But for now, that's what I can anticipate from the performance, which is obviously going to be pretty good. Fluid, this is going to give you a good experience. If you've never tried MediaTek processors, or you've tried one but in the low end or mid-range, you might have some reservations when choosing your purchase for this tablet, but honestly it's a pretty good processor. But now let's take a look at this other massive tablet, which as you can see is exaggeratedly large. It is available in the same two color variations. It has exactly the same photographic system, although for the front camera, if we will find different things, because it also integrates two cameras, one main and one ultra wide, in both cases of 12 megapixels. But again, instead of giving me 4 totally unnecessary cameras, in that case, better give me 4 USB-C ports, please. Similarly, it has this same finish that tries to avoid reflections on the screen, which by the way is 14.6 inches. It is an exaggeratedly large screen, although it seems to me that it remains the same as the last generation. It weighs 723 grams, so honestly, if you can get to feel a little heavier than we would like, and also if you combine it with its keyboard accessory that comes with the case and the tab for this device to stand, you have to add another 670 grams. And by the way, in this keyboard is also included a special Galaxy AI key that what it will do by default will be to open Bixby. Although it is expected that in the configuration you can change to also open Gemini only, that in this test unit is not yet available. So I have to be honest with you, if you plan to use this tablet as a laptop replacement, believe me, it is not as light or as portable as we would like, although it is too big of a tablet. In fact, personally, I would still suggest that this model integrated as Windows operating system would seem to me something much more appropriate. Although, as you know, you can enable a DeX mode that will allow you to take better advantage of screen space, because it will change the interface completely, betting on a windowed view interface. Note that when you open an application, it does not open in full screen, but you can open different windows and resize them. However, Android applications are not that advanced, and I really consider that they do not take advantage of the tremendous screen we have here. This screen also has Dynamic AMOLED 2X technology and also comes with 4 speakers on its sides. Before I wrap up, let me just show you the graphics settings for Call of Duty, which I think is a good reference game. Notice that if you give priority to the maximum rate of frames per second, which in this case is called Ultra, it adjusts the graphic quality to a medium level, and if you give priority to the graphic quality, it can go up to the rate called Maximum. Note that in this case, despite being a MediaTek processor, does have good support for graphics effects. So I tell you that this processor is really quite advanced. So again, we are talking about the MediaTek Dimensity 9, a fully high-end processor that in this case is also accompanied by 12 gigabytes of RAM in their versions of 256 and 512 gigabytes of storage. However, in this case, there is also an addition of 1 terabyte of storage, where we will find the configuration of 16 gigabytes of RAM. So yes, we are going to find quite advanced features, considering also that it supports micro SD up to 1.5 terabytes. So it has enough power, and battery has 11,200 milliamp hours also, with support for 45 watts charging. I insist it is a tablet that I think is very good, but I would like it to come with Windows rather than Android due to the limitations currently offered by Android applications, because in Windows we will find many more capabilities, but for now it has just been an initial glimpse of this tablet. Remember that we will soon have more content related to it, and before we finish, I also remind you that it integrates circle to search, so that by simply pointing to some area both with the stylus and with your finger, you can make the exploration of some products or similar things. It can be directly from the camera or anything you are looking at from any application, so it is quite a nice way to search for something you come across suddenly. This obviously added to the whole Galaxy AI suite that I already told you about a moment ago. Yeah, so as I told you at the beginning, it's a very AI-focused update with the processor change from Snapdragon to MediaTek that only time will tell if it was a good decision or not. Personally, it is a decision that has not bothered me. For the moment, this has been all for this video. If you liked it, you know you can indicate it, and we'll see you next time.